area formulas first. We're going to talk about rectangles and squares first. I know that there is a formula for each, but I use one formula for both, and that is length times width. Because a square, the only difference is what about a square? All sides are the same. So when you do length and width, it's going to be the same number. Okay? What is the area formula for a circle? For a circle. We have been talking about pi r squared. Good. The next one I do want you to write down and draw these pictures. I want you to draw these two types of triangles because they are going to give you different things. So there are two types of triangles on the screen. One of them is a right triangle. One of them is not. We're going to talk about how to find the area of both of them. So you don't have to draw the circle or the square or the rectangle. You know what those look like, and those are pretty straightforward. However, for a triangle, it's 1/2 base times the height. Just going to refresh your memory on what's the base and what's the height. So when you think of base, what location do you think of?
The bottom.
The bottom. Okay, so the base of these are very easy. Base, base. However, the height is different. Do we ever find height at like an angled way? No. So the height of the first one will be different. It would have like a dotted line to represent that this line isn't technically here. It's just representing from the very top of the triangle to the very bottom of the triangle. And that will be your height. The other one, the height is pretty self-explanatory. The only thing I want you to know about a right triangle in specific, so you should have labeled the heights. Is that the hypotenuse is never the base or the height. So the hypotenuse is never a base and it's never the height. So did you write down what I just told you? So the hypotenuse is never the base and never the height. So if you're ever given the hypotenuse instead of the height, how do you find the third side in a right triangle? The Pythagorean theorem. You will have to do that at least once on the homework. I did look. Okay, so just reminding you, if you need to find a third side, use the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, the last one is a trapezoid. What made a parallelogram a parallelogram? The two pairs of sides were parallel, mostly. They are congruent, but parallel is what made a parallelogram. A trapezoid, instead of two pairs of parallel sides, a trapezoid has one pair of parallel sides. Its formula is very similar to a triangle. I'll show you it. Area is 1/2 the bases added together times the height. And I would also draw these pictures to show you how to find the bases and the height. The rest of chapter 11 is over volume, and if you struggle with finding area, volume is literally you multiply the area times the height of the shape, the 3D object. So that's why this is super important for us to get now so we can get it later. The two bases, they have to be the parallel bases. For the trapezoid, they have to be the parallel sides. So whenever you're adding the two bases, they do have to be the parallel sides. You can't just pick any sides. So in our first picture, the parallel sides are the up and down. So this would be a base 1, base 2. It doesn't matter which one you label because you're going to be adding them, so it really doesn't matter. In the second picture, which ones would be the bases?
Oh, the ones on the right.
Yeah, the left and the right. Good. So base 1, base 2. The height is not what you normally think it would be. It's what separate the bases. So the height might not always be from the bottom to the top. What it would be in a picture, you would still see a dotted line. That would be the height. In the second picture, since the bases are left and right, the height would actually be sideways, which is pretty weird. But if you see a dotted line, it mostly represents the height. All right, so I'm pretty sure on your quiz tomorrow we stick to the basics because you're just talking about it today. So I would just make sure you know rectangle, circle, triangle. I am pretty sure we don't have a trapezoid tomorrow. You might have one on the test, but not on the quiz. Okay, so let's look at this first paper, or the paper we got. At the top, there are steps to success. All right, so first step, decide if there's a cutout or an addition. So it goes right here. Whenever we're finding compound area, decide if there's a cutout or an addition, and I'll show you what I mean. So that was supposed to go right here, but it can go here. It's fine. So decide if there is a cutout or an addition, and I'll show you examples of both. We're going to do examples of both. On the page you're on, if you look, you have a rectangle and a triangle. This is considered an addition because you have a complete rectangle and a complete triangle together. Okay? The same thing at the bottom. If you turn to the next page, which you don't have to, you can just look at mine. This one is a square with a circle cut out of it. So that's what I mean by cut out. This one is a circle with another circle cut out of it. So whenever it says find the shaded area, you're going to end up subtracting. When it's just an addition, like on our first page, nothing shaded, you're finding the total area of two objects or two shapes, you're going to end up doing addition. Okay? Step 2 is to split the figure into basic shapes. Sometimes you don't have to, sometimes they're already done for you like we are going to do today. So the basic shapes are, rectangle, square, triangle, trapezoid, circle. You don't have to list them if you know what I mean by basic shapes. Step 3 is to find the area of each. Step 4 is to add or subtract them together. And then the last step 5, what do all area answers look like? Squared. So you're going to answer in square units. Square feet, square inches, square miles, square whatever. All right, so we're going to begin. Anytime it says, in terms of pi on this paper, or round to the 10th, we are just going to consistently round to the 100th. Because that's what it'll be like on your test, and your quiz. So we're just going to round to the 100th. I know what the directions say sometimes. We're just going to do it anyways. Okay? So we're going to start with number 1. What two shapes is this broken up into? Triangle and a rectangle. So we're going to find the area of a triangle first. What is the area formula for a triangle? 1/2 base times the height. What is the base of this triangle? 18. It is also going to be 18. Because the bottom is a rectangle, that means they're going to be the same. So times 18, and then what is the height? 7. Does it matter what order you multiply in? No. So what's 1/2 of 18? 9, and then 9 times 7, 63. So the top, if I shaded all this in, the top is 63 yards squared. Okay, that's not our final answer, that's just the top piece. The bottom piece, we said was a rectangle. What is the area formula for a rectangle? Length times width, base and height is fine. So length and width, so area equals 12 times 18, which is 216. So we just accounted for the entire bottom. So now we need to account for the entire shape. So we're going to add them together. So 63 plus 216, which is 279, yep, yards squared. Perfect. Are we all good with this? Okay. So this is what I mean by, it says in terms of pi. We're not going to do that. We're still going to round to the hundredth. I see we're broken up into two shapes. What is the shape on the left? Rectangle. We should love rectangles because they take 2 seconds to find the area. What is the formula for a rectangle? Length width, which will end up being 10 times 8. Y'all are one step ahead of me. I'm recording, so 10 times 8 is 80. So the left is 80. What is the right shape? A semicircle. I always say half a circle, like on these. So we know whenever we find the area of this circle, which is pi r squared, the area formula accounts for the entire circle. So we only need half of it. So we're going to find the area, and then we're going to have to take half of it. Okay? So we find the area like normal, pi r squared. What is the length of the radius? 4. Okay, we know it's 4 because the opposite side is 8. So that makes this side 8, and half of 8 is 4. Perfect. So pi times 4 squared. What is 4 squared? 16. And then 16 times pi. 50.24. However, that is for the entire circle, but we only have half of that. So we're going to have to take half of this number, because we only have half the circle. So 50.24, we're going to split it into 2, and we get 25.12. So now we have all of this. So to find the area of the entire shape, we're going to add those two numbers together. So 80 plus, what do we say? 25.12. 105.212, sorry. And then it is feet squared. Perfect. We flip. We're skipping number 3 for today. We're going to do number 4. You are going to do number 4 with the person next to you.
Yes, it is. Oh, yeah. No, it is.
56.5.
Plus 30. That's
If you take the test,
All right, have you finished? That's correct. That's correct.
just the
Correct.
We had to study the entire.
So that's the area of the circle. Or half the circle. You gotta add it. Yeah. You're one step away. Okay. Bringing it back in. What do we get as our final answer? 86.52. Did you take half of the area of the circle? No, you did not. Did you add 113 plus 30? It's a semicircle. It's only half of it. So you have to take half of it. You have to take, I'm telling you, you have to take half of the area of the circle, which is 56.52. Then you add them together. It's all good. All right, we move on to the next one. So the 5 steps are the same. So we're not going to go into depth, but in this section we're doing the cutout. The last one we were doing the additions. This one we're doing the cutout. So the way that I do it is I first find out how much there was total without a cutout. What shape is this outline? A square. I know that there is technically a different formula, but I still do length and width. What will the length and the width be of this square? 8 and 8. So 8 times 8 is 64. So if all of this was filled in, there would be 64 square feet. But there is not all filled in. That was terrible grammar. It is what it is. We're going to find how much was cut out with this circle. So, area equals pi r squared. What is the radius here? 4. So pi times 16, which is 50.24. So now that we know 50.24 was cut out with that circle, what do I do with these two numbers? I'm going to subtract them. So 64 was the total square. Subtract 50.24. What do we get? 13.76. Perfect. 13.76 feet squared. Yes, sir.
So the only time you subtract them is whenever it's cut out.
Mm-hmm.
And
So a key thing would be the shaded.
okay.
I say cutout, that's not the official term. But whenever you see the shaded region, that means, I don't know, what's a different way to say cutout? I don't know. Yeah. All right, we're going to skip, well, actually, we won't. I'll give you a challenge for the end. Let's do this one. We're going to find the area of the outer. So what shape is the outer?
Circle.
Still a circle, so area equals pi r squared. What is the radius of this outer circle? 50. Perfect. So 50 squared is 2,500, just so we're all clear. Times 3.14 is 7,850. Perfect. So if all of the circle is filled in, that's how much area is inside of the larger circle. But this white circle, don't know why I said it like that, is cut out. So we do the same thing, except for what's the radius this time? 36. What is 36 squared? 1,296. Times 3.14.
4,069.
Perfect. All right, so then what are we going to do to finish the problem? Subtract. 7850 minus 4,069.44.
3,780.5.
Perfect. And then it is feet squared. All right, go ahead and flip. We're going to do number 3 together. right, so what is the outer shape? A rectangle. A rectangle. So we're going to find the area of that rectangle. So length and width. What are our length and width here? 9 and 16. I want to say that's 144. Okay. So 144. What shape is cut out? Trapezoid. Perfect. So we're going to use our trapezoid formula. 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. All right, so I said the bases had to be what?
Parallel.
Parallel. So what are the two parallel bases here? 5 and 11. So 5 plus 11, and then what is the height? 4. All right, so it does matter what order you do things. What should we do first in this? Yeah, the parentheses add. So we're going to do 5 plus 11, which is? 16. Then it doesn't matter what order you multiply in. What's half of 16? 8 times 4? 32. So there was 144 centimeters squared, and then 32 of it was cut out. So we are going to subtract it, which is 112 centimeters squared. Perfect. You're going to do the next one. You and your partner.
Oh yeah, we gotta remember this half is also half. What is this? What is this? Rectangle. I was like, what are you cursing? What are you cursing?
All I have to do is just pull that.
It's so good. Look, that's 50 plus the cover these are. That's like it's able start. So you do this circle out. Oh, what? You do this. You do this.
Oh, I have.
32. 54. Add them up. Subtract. 18. Wait. I forgot to take half. Wait, I did. No, not for. Oh, wait, you did this on the area. You did half. There it is.
All right. What do we get as our final answer? 6.88. I was listening to these two over here, and so then I didn't half it at first, and then I'm like, no, this is the wrong answer. So I went back, but you realized it too. So good. Make sure it's a semicircle. So when you find the area, you have to find the half. All right. Any questions on this one?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead and flip to the last page. There will be steps for this one. We're only doing 3 of them. Be okay. There are steps. Are you two good back there? No? Okay. There are steps. The first one is to highlight or outline the perimeter of the object. I'm paraphrasing. But that is step 1. Highlight or outline the perimeter of the object. So if you want a highlighter out, you can have one, or you can just outline. Highlight or, I could be on it. Highlight or outline the perimeter of the object or the shape. All right, step 2 is to add together the straight edges. Are you good now? Add together the straight edges. All right, then you can calculate the perimeter, or the circumference if you'd like to call it, of the curved edges. So the reason I say skip step 4, I need to unfreeze it, is because it says answer in terms of pi or round. I always want you to round. I don't really think there's a problem that says leave in terms of pi. So the last one is combine, label, and circle your final answer. The circle your final answer mostly goes towards C.J. Ross, who does not know how to do this skill. I say that in love. All right, so then we are going to do problem number 1. You can go ahead and outline the outer edge of that shape, that composite shape. Some of y'all are baseball players. So think of a composite bat. Why is a composite bat a composite bat? What'd you say? No. It's made out of multiple things, made out of multiple metals or whatever. So a composite shape has 2 shapes put together. That's all. So the perimeter, this is a window apparently. So go ahead and highlight your perimeter or outline, whichever you choose. Step 2 was to add all the straight edges. So we have 12, 10, and what's the last edge? 12. So 12 plus 10 plus 12. I'm just going to write it on my screen and add it later. Then you have to find the perimeter of the curved edges. What is the perimeter called in reference to a circle? Circumference. So we're going to have to find the circumference, except for this is not an entire circle, is it? So it's a semicircle. We're going to end up having to take half of the circumference. There are 2 circumference formulas, either pi times d or 2 pi r. Which one do we prefer to use here? Pi times d, because what's the diameter? It's 10. So we can plug it in. You don't have to type that in your calculator. You just move over the decimal. That would be 34. No, I know. 31.4. All right, but that would be of the entire circle. We do not have the entire circle. We only have half of this circle. So half of 31.4, which is 15.7. Perfect. All right, so then we add them all up. So what is 12 plus 10 plus 12 plus 15.7? 49.7. All right, and then it's just feet. There is no squared because this is not area. All right, I have argued with many about what this looks like. Someone said a glass. I say it looks like an upside down, a light bulb.
Yeah.
It looks like an upside down muffin or a cupcake.
Someone said muffin and I said cupcake, and then he argued with me. Did the same thing. Anyways, whatever you want to say it looks like. We're going to go ahead.
It looks like those things, like the cones. Ice cream.
Ice cream cones?
No, not ice cream cone, but put like snow cones.
Oh, a snow cone. That's good. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I was already. That's why I said glass. But I'm recording, so. But thank you. It's all good. All right, so go ahead and highlight or outline the outer edge We got 7, 8, and what's the other piece going to be? 7 also. So we're going to add these straight edges. We do need to find the curved edge. So again, we're going to use the circumference. But is this an entire circle?
No.
It is not. It's half of a circle. Which circumference formula are we going to use? Pi times d. What is the diameter? Yep, 12. All right, what is pi times 12? 0.68. But that would be the entire circle, so we need only half of that. 18.84. Perfect. So we're going to add it in. So, what is it, 40.84 meters. Perfect. We have one more to do together. Actually, I'm going to see if you can take the challenge. Go to number 4. It looks like this. I'll give you yes it is. I will give you a few minutes to work on it by yourself or with your partner. And then after that, we have to do it together because we need the right answer. Okay, so go ahead and begin. You can just put it on the corner of your desk. No, I said.
Alright, wait. You gotta find the circle. I know. That's what I did. So it's 6.
It is 15. This is 6. This is 6. So that means this is 6. So now which means that this is 9.
Okay, divided by 4. Boom,
Telling you the answer. All right, so hopefully most of you are doing pretty well. This is 1/4 of a circle. So you find the circumference and then take 1/4 of it, which is 9.42. What is this bottom piece of the rectangle? It's 8. We're pretty good with that. What is this left piece? 9. How'd you find 9? 9 plus 6 is 15. Perfect. What about, most people skip this one. What about this piece? 6. Once you have that, you add up all the sides. I'm going to start with 6. 6 plus 9 plus 8 and 15 and 8. And then add 9.42. What do we get as our final answer? 55.42. And it is inches.